Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Why grand juries give the police the benefit of the doubt. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Back in 1993, Jesse Jackson was quoted by the New York Times as saying this: "There is nothing more painful to me at this stage in my life than to walk down the street and hear footsteps and start thinking about robbery, then look around and see somebody white and feel relieved." Reverend Jackson was just being honest, putting forth that many Americans feel uneasy in the presence of young black males, especially in the inner city. African Americans now make up 13% of the American population, but 36% of the prison population. Whites, 63% of the general, 33% of prison inmates. Hispanics, 17% of the general, 22% of prisoners. So you can see that crimes committed by blacks dominate the statistics. African Americans commit more murders than whites, even though the population difference is huge. So that is the primary reason that grand juries give the police the benefit of the doubt when there's an incident in the black community. The high crime rate there permeates. Also, most Americans understand that police work is difficult. Right now, there are about 670,000 law enforcement agents in America. According to the FBI in 2013, last stats available, almost 50,000 police officers were assaulted. 76 cops died on the job. So there's no question that police work is intense, especially in poor neighborhoods. Now, we're all human beings, and we all form general impressions about life. Sad to say, the overt impression formed about young black males who act and speak in a certain way is negative. May not be fair, but it's reality. Faced with that, some police officers unfairly target young black males, and those officers must be stopped. But most cops try to be fair. I really believe that. Many politicians are too cowardly to tell you what Talking Points has just stated. They all know the truth. They all know the stats. But they refuse to discuss the core problems: poor education, poor family structure, and an attitude of defiance toward law enforcement. Listen to New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio.
There's something fundamental we have to get at here, and it's not going to be helped by accusing either the community or the police of having bad intention or not doing their job. In fact, I think everyone is trying to do their job. Of course, communities want to keep themselves safe. Of course, parents want to teach their children to be law-abiding.
Most parents do try to teach their children to be law-abiding, but as Mr. de Blasio well knows, the collapse of the traditional family and African-American precincts means fathers are not around, mothers are overwhelmed, and parental guidance is scant. So for the mayor to claim that the parental unit in general is unified in supporting law enforcement is absurd. Rather than discuss the core problems that lead to police confrontations, politicians like de Blasio demonize the police and refuse to make judgments about personal behavior. That liberal attitude empowers chaotic young people who are not held accountable from a very young age. And then when they finally go over the line, they wind up in prison or in the morgue. The truth is that government cannot control personal behavior. Only peer pressure can. Only united neighborhoods can. When the regular folks come together and say enough, when they support the police by turning in violent people, when they speak out against teenage girls becoming pregnant, and when they encourage solid family values, that's when the underclass crime problem will begin to subside. One final thing. When you hear someone say they want to have a, quote, conversation about race, that often means they want to bloviate about theory, about things that happened in America 150 years ago. They don't really want to solve the problem that exists today. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction. With us, Kevin Powell, co-founder of the activist group BK Nation, and the Reverend Jacques DeGraff, a Fox News analyst. Where am I going wrong, Reverend, very specifically?
Your entire premise is false. The notion that this is a crime problem funded by or fueled by weak families is totally inaccurate. Racism is alive in America. And a lot of people don't want to talk about racism, and you're making this a law enforcement problem.
Well, that's what it is.
It's not a law enforcement problem. It's an allocation of resources problem. It's a justice problem.
Okay. Well, law enforcement and justice, I hate to inform you, Reverend, are tied in together. Now, do you believe...
Not in our community.
Do you believe...
That's the whole point.
Do you believe that most police officers in America don't like you because of the color of your skin?
That's irrelevant.
No, it's not. That's the key question.
I'm concerned when I'm in the presence of most police officers in America. When a police officer walks to me, I don't see a friend walking towards me.
Do you know that 99.9% of all police interactions with American citizens result in no violence? Do you know that?
Of course I know that.
Okay,
I
so
also know
why would a rational person like you be afraid then?
Because if a policeman could shoot a 12-year-old because he couldn't distinguish between whether he was a 12-year-old or a 20-year-old on 2 seconds' notice.
Well, mistakes are going to be made.
No, the mistakes. See, there are white people who live in public housing who've never been shot accidentally by a policeman.
So you do believe that police come in and target black people? You
I didn't
believe
say that.
No, that's what you're saying to me.
I believe, no. I
believe, what I'm taking away from you.
Well, I believe, and others in our community believe, that we're at risk in a way that other Americans are not.
Because cops target blacks. Do you believe that most cops get up?
Have a different value than the system has a different value toward black life, which is why black lives matter.
I couldn't disagree with you more. Mr. Powell, do you believe that most American police agents, 670,000 of them, don't like you because of the color of your skin?
I believe that we live in a country that is so rooted in racism, it permeates every aspect of the society.
And how does that define itself? I mean, am I a racist? Do I come across as somebody who doesn't like black people?
Since you asked the question,
yeah.
Even your opening memo, the way you presented all that stuff about black people, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you know what? I could say the same thing about young white males who have committed the majority of white mass shootings in this country, but I wouldn't say that because I'm not going to perpetuate the mythology that all white men are dangerous.
Do you dispute any of the statistics that I put forth?
Actually, I do, because if you look at many of the crimes that are out there, from Wall Street crimes to certain drug arrests, a lot of these things are actually white people doing these things, not black folks.
So you believe that the police don't arrest whites and they
what I believe is that people sometimes conveniently manipulate statistics to prove their agenda. And
These are FBI stats. I'm sorry. I mean,
well, sir, I also have folks who work for the FBI, and those are not the accurate stats.
Did you know that black Americans commit 1,000 more murders a year than white Americans, even though blacks are 13% of the population and whites are 63%?
Sir, what I also know is that
am I racist for pointing that out?
Sir, what I also know that violence pervades every part of this society. Black communities, white communities,
Latino. It's a pretty big gap, though. I mean, 13 opposed to 63, and you got 1,000 more murders a year?
Here's what I would say to you, sir, with all due respect. My thing is, are we going to have a real issue about racism, not 150 years ago, but in 2014? You know, you asked the question, do people feel threatened if they encounter a police officer? Up until I was about 14, 15 years old, absolutely not. I didn't even think about it. I saw police officers as my friend because that's how I was socialized, how I was raised. But when I got beat up by a police officer when I was 15 years old, a white police officer in Jersey City where I was born, and I probably weighed about 90 pounds, and I was perceived to be a threat as some sort of big man. I was 5'2" maybe. That sent a message that somehow or another, as a young black male or an older black male,
the atrocity that one police officer did with all of them.
Well, the problem is, sir, if this was happening to white males in this country, at the record is happening to Michael Brown, to Tamir Rice, to Akai Gurley, it would be an epidemic.
Michael Brown attacked that police officer.
What was
let's get to the Reverend, and I'll give you both 30 seconds to sum up. Go ahead.
It is, in my judgment, and the judgment of many in our community, this. They took John Gotti alive. They took Lee Harvey Oswald alive. So even our criminals are treated differently than white criminals. Boy, and there are white criminals.
That's pretty far out there, Reverend. All right. Last word, Mr.
It's not far out there. The reality is we have a serious issue around racism in this country. And if you look at the protests out there, it's not just black people. There are white people out there, Latino people out there, Asian people out there.
Because they understand who's leading those protests.
No, they understand that this is a problem that affects everyone in society. And the older generations, unfortunately, are holding on to racism. There are young people out there of all different backgrounds.
You guys are generalizing a lot of good people as racist.
In New York, they're shutting down Macy's, they're shutting down Toys R Us, and this conversation will change as you feel the economic and other effects, political and economic, of people in our community.
All right, gentlemen, we appreciate it. Thanks very much.